Hey y'all, this is going to be my flawless foundation routine. It is concentrated more towards the oily to combination oily skin types. I'm combination oily in my T-zone. Everywhere else I'm pretty much normal. This is not the only way to do it. This may not be the best way to do it for you, but it is the best way that I found that works for me as well as my clients that share the same skin type. Give it a shot. Feel free to change it up. Let's just go ahead and jump right into it. The only thing I've done is my eyebrows as well as apply my serums, moisturizers, and sunscreen. I do want to speak on skincare just a little bit because your skin is the foundation for your foundation. You always want to make sure that you have a great skincare regimen for your skin type. I don't think you can ever start taking care of your skin too early. For my moisturizer, I don't have my serums with me. They're in my bathroom. But for moisturizer, I've been using the Neutrogena Hydro Boost Water Gel as a very nice scent, a very nice texture. Ooh, it doesn't make my pores feel clogged. It doesn't leave any type of like weird, greasy or sticky residue. It has just a very nice consistency and leaves my face feeling extremely refreshed. On top of that, I'll go in with my sunscreen. This is the Lancôme Beinfait UV sunscreen with SPF 50. It's very light. I'm going to make an updated skincare routine, so look out for that, for those products in more detail. Next, I'm gonna jump in with my primers. The first is Philosophy the Present. I'm not gonna go into detail with these because I do have a full video talking about nothing but my primers and how I apply them. Just a little bit. I haven't tried the Nivea aftershave balm that everybody's been raving about, but I do feel like that is probably an inexpensive dupe for Philosophy the Present. Oh, I just wiped over my eyebrow. But it's still in place, girl. After that, I'm a bit porous, so I'm gonna apply this Makeup Forever Step 1 Skin Equalizer Primer only in the areas where I'm porous. That is the thing about primers. So essentially when you add layers, you're just adding more and more layers before you've even put your foundation on. So with primers, I love primers, but I only apply it in the areas where it's needed. I'm not porous all over my face, so I don't apply it all over my face. Does that make sense? There is such thing as using too much, especially with primers. Most of the primers on the market, a little bit goes a long way. So I would say start with a pea-sized amount, and then build up from there. So that's all I'm gonna use, only in my T-zone. And that might have even been too much. And I'm just gonna smooth that into, again, only the areas where I'm oily. Now I'm gonna spot conceal. Again, like I said with the primers, if you don't need to spot conceal, then skip this step, okay? If you don't have discoloration or hyperpigmentation, there really is no need for you to spot conceal unless you're concealing like redness or any veins or dark circles or anything like that. But if you don't need to, skip this step, okay? It's just gonna add an additional layer, and notice we haven't even gotten to foundation yet. And this is the LA Girl Pro Conceal in the orange. Obviously, as you can see, it is very, very orange. So I probably won't repurchase this because after I go in with the color corrector, I go in with a skin tone, very light coverage concealer just to balance it out. But yeah, I do like the Anastasia, what is it called? The cream contour palette. That orange shade is very helpful. I think it's like Coral, I think is the actual name of it. But yeah, I just go in with a very small brush so I can make sure that I'm still concentrating that color in the areas where I need it instead of all over my face. Then I'm gonna go back in with my MAC Select Cover Up Concealer. This is the shade NW45. And this is just gonna balance out that orange so it's not so intense and that it more closely matches my actual skin tone. Next, I'm gonna go in with my Skindanavia makeup primer spray. This is the oil control formula. It is oil free as well as silicone free. So it is going to help your foundation go on more smoothly and help keep your makeup from sliding off your face. So I'm super light in the center and darker on the outside. So I like to go in with a darker shade around the perimeter and a lighter shade in the center. For the darker shade, I've been using the DiorSkin Star Foundation. This is in the shade 60. For the outer perimeter, I'm just gonna go in with one pump on the back of my hand. For the center, I use the NARS All Day Luminous. I believe this is Trinidad. Yeah, Trinidad. This foundation that everyone knows and most people love. So your coverage, the coverage of your foundation, depending on how full or light you want your coverage, that's going to determine what you want to use to apply your foundation. Some people use their fingers. I don't like to use my fingers. I like a brush or a sponge. I'm either full makeup or bare face. There's never any in between or light makeup days. My light makeup days is still a full face. But for full coverage, you want something that's more dense like this, that has a round or a flat top. This is the Real Techniques buffing brush. If you want something that's full coverage, I would suggest this Real Techniques Expert Face Brush. The Sigma F80, I think it is, the flat top kabuki brush. Or the Sephora 55 Pro Airbrush brush. I would suggest any of those. If you want something that's more of the lighter coverage, I would suggest a beauty blender or a duo fiber stippling brush. So the way that I apply it, I will go in on the back of my hand. This is the darker and the lighter, believe it or not. So I'm just gonna go in and dab that all over my face. And this one dries a little bit faster, so I only apply it in sections. But I like to apply it with my finger versus putting my brush in and then apply it. I just feel like I get more product use that way. So I like to use the stippling motion, and this looks really orange on camera, I know, but it matches in person. I like to use the stippling motion just so I get a more full coverage application, or the kind of swiping down motion. I don't like to use the swirling motion because, again, I have a lot of discoloration and hyperpigmentation, and that's not gonna give as full of a coverage, you know? So if you have flawless skin, you don't have any hyperpigmentation or discoloration, you can probably get away with a flawless face with the swirling motion. I just prefer the stippling motion for, you know, fuller coverage. All right, so now I'm gonna go in with the lighter foundation and apply that to the center of my face. Still going in with that same brush and that same stippling motion. Next, I'm going to go in with my under eye highlight slash concealer. Most days I will mix these two. They are both the NYX HD concealer. One is 08 Nutmeg and the other is 07 Tan. Right now I'm just gonna do half and half. On the days that I want a more dramatic highlight, I go in with mostly 07 and just a smidge of 08. The 08 is closer to my skin tone, whereas the 07 is a couple of shades lighter. So I'm gonna add just a little bit more of 07 so you guys can really see the dramatics. So I apply that to the bottom of my forehead, down the bridge of my nose, and under my eyes. Then I'm gonna go in with a damp Real Techniques complexion sponge. All right, so I'm gonna give that just a minute to set in. And I'm gonna go ahead and jump into my cream contour. If I didn't cream contour, like if I was using a powder that day or no contour, I would just go ahead and set my whole face. But since this is a cream, I like to apply cream to cream versus a cream to a powder. If you apply a cream to a powder, it's just gonna stick to the powder. It's gonna be super hard to blend. So I'm gonna go in with the LA Pro Conceal, the shade Dark Cocoa. It's gonna look like my skin tone at first, like you can barely see it, but once I blend it, it gives me a very nice natural contour. So I'm gonna go in with my MAC 159 brush. I love this brush. Another one that I love is the Real Technique sculpting brush. So I'm gonna stipple it and then blend. So there's my contour. Okay, so, oh, and I'm gonna take the excess and drag it down the bridge of my nose. I don't like a super sculpted nose contour unless I'm going to like a really fancy event. Otherwise, I'll just use whatever's left on my brush and drag it down both sides of my nose. Next, I'm going to set my under eye concealer. I'm gonna be using the Sacha Buttercup powder. I really do like this. I wasn't a huge fan of it at first, but I've really grown to like it. So I'm going to go in with my Real Techniques setting brush, grab a little bit of that product. Oh, and I had a friend, shout out to Jahi, that asked me why we bake. Pause. So I'm gonna look up, dab out that concealer, dab out that concealer, still looking up, and apply that setting powder. So I had a friend that asked why we bake. I don't really bake, especially during the winter months, because my skin has never been on the drier side, but there's not excess moisture in the air, so therefore I don't have like a lot of excess oils. So I feel like if I bake, it's gonna be on the verge of making me dry, if that makes sense. Not on the verge of making me dry, but I'm not gonna look like glowy or naturally dewy if I bake. Does that make sense? So when I bake, I'm just making sure that my contour stands out as well as my highlight stands out. That really is the purpose in baking. It's just to make your highlight and your contour more dramatic. So, Jahi, I hope that answered your question, my love. So again, I'm gonna look up, dab that out, and then go in with the powder to set. If you don't have a setting brush, you can go in with a beauty blender or a beauty blender dupe or just a regular old complexion sponge. Okay? So once I've done that, I'm gonna set my foundation with a translucent powder. This is the Laura Mercier translucent powder. It is the only translucent powder that I trust. Every other translucent powder that I've tried leaves horrible flashback, and yes, that is even the Makeup Forever, okay? So I'm gonna go, I dab just a little bit, I dab just a little bit on the brush and then go in the lid and just swirl it around just to make sure that I get an even amount all over the brush and it's not just like packed on one area, okay? So then I'm gonna just tap all over my face. Let me put that down. And then blend it out. This has really been a major key to the success, of my foundation, keeping it in place, keeping it from transferring. My foundation does still transfer a little bit. I mean, whose doesn't? But it definitely minimizes the amount of transfer. If you're not setting your foundation with a translucent powder, I would highly suggest it. I don't really like using a powder with color or pigmentation just because I feel like that's just gonna add to the transfer. So I like to go in with a translucent powder and a fluffy brush. Blends everything together and you're set to go for the rest of the day or night. So yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. That is my flawless foundation routine. And look, even if I don't want to apply anything else, which I would never do that because, again, I'm either no makeup or all makeup. But look how... And this would last me for several hours. So, yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I hope it was helpful. Leave me questions, comments below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Wait. Forgot a very important step. Make sure that you are using a setting spray, okay? That is another major key. A setting spray, not a finishing spray. Max Fix Plus is not a setting spray, okay? It's just gonna make you dewy. In our cases, oily. It's not gonna set your makeup. It is just gonna add moisture back to your powder. Skindanavia Makeup Finishing Spray is going to lock your foundation in place and it's gonna settle the powder, okay? Skindanavia. Get you some. Bye, y'all.